All right, so we're now going to talk about vision. This is one of our really important special senses that uses a large organ, the eye. And in lab, we're going to get to dissect an eyeball. I believe they are cow eyeballs. They're beautiful, and if you love dissections, it'll be really exciting for you. So vision occurs when light rays move in through the cornea here and then through the pupil. They hit the lens and they bend and they hit the back of the eye, the retina, and in the retina we have little photoreceptors that pick up that information, and they're going to send the information to the brain via electrical impulses. So we have a lot of accessory structures of the eye. The eyebrow, eyelashes, they both are hair and they both protect the eye from material that is external getting into the eye. So the eyebrows help protect from like sweat droplets and everything and potential, organisms. Eyelashes and eyelids protect from material moving into the eye like insects or dust getting into the eye. They can get trapped. Surrounding the outer layer of the eye, which is known as the sclera, the white of the eye, is a covering called the conjunctiva. Conjunctiva contain mucus cells known as goblet cells, as well as a lot of blood vessels. And you can see this conjunctiva, the blood vessels are being seen or are showing. The sclera is avascular. It's composed of dense regular connective tissue. And if you remember from last semester, dense regular connective tissue does not have a vascular system. So the sclera gets nutrients from the conjunctiva and a lot of protection from the conjunctiva. The sclera itself is very protective of the eye, which we'll talk about a little later. The conjunctiva does not cover the cornea, which is the clear portion that surrounds the iris, the colored part of the eye, and the pupil right there. And the reason for this is because of these blood vessels. Light rays move in, they have to move through that cornea, and if there are blood vessels blocking, then the light rays can hit the blood vessels and not actually enter the eye. So here's a nice picture showing the eyebrow, the eyelid, eyelashes, surround the white portions of sclera surrounded by the conjunctiva. And we have a lacrimal apparatus that's going to be located up in this region of the eye, and it produces tears, and those tears are going to move through down through the lacrimal bone and the little tiny lacrimal canal. And so here's that lacrimal apparatus that I was talking about. The lacrimal apparatus produces tears. Tears are composed of mainly water, but also there is proteins, antibodies, enzymes to protect the eye from potential invaders. And the main function is to continuously keep the eye moist. Every time we blink, we're helping to move those tears around our eyes. And so the tears are produced through the lacrimal gland, and then they move down through the eye, and then they move out through these tiny little canaliculi, and they move into the lacrimal sac. The lacrimal sac then drains through the nasolacrimal duct into the nasal canal. And this is also, if you've ever wondered why when you're crying your nose starts to run, because you're producing so many tears that a lot more tears are draining into your nasal canal. And on the flip side of that, when you have a really bad cold and you have a really stuffed up nose, your eyes start to water because they can't drain because of all the mucus in the nasolacrimal duct that is clogged up. One of our clinical views from the text is called conjunctivitis. Conjunctivitis is inflammation of the conjunctiva. This is a serious form. You can see the swelling here of the eye. A lot of pus is associated with it, the red eye, the itching, and pain. Conjunctivitis can be caused by viruses or by bacteria. In both cases, these forms of conjunctivitis are contagious. So you have to get treated and stay away from others. There are also allergic conjunctivitis, chemical conjunctivitis, and irritant conjunctivitis. So when allergens or different chemicals or other irritants get into your eye and cause reddening and pain, that's also, it's still inflammation. But with those forms of conjunctivitis, we don't tend to see this pus, this mucousy pus that comes out of the eye, and your eyes don't get stuck together. Trachoma is a form of conjunctivitis that is very serious because it can cause blindness in newborn babies. If the mom has chlamydia and the baby passes through the birth canal, through the vaginal canal, then mom can pass that disease to the baby, and if trachoma or if chlamydia gets into the eyes, it can cause a form of conjunctivitis that will scar the eyes and actually cause blindness in infants. And typically we have good treatments for this. We use antibiotic eye drops to protect all children now from this disease. So what does the eye look like? So this is a beautiful eyeball. I believe this is a cow eye. And the outermost region of the eye, so all of this back here is fat tissue. So we're looking at this structure right there. That's known as the sclera. It's the fibrous tunic. It's also the white of the eye. It runs all the way forward and hits this structure here called the cornea. Typically the cornea, typically the cornea is clear, but this is a dead eye. It's been preserved and now dissected. This cornea is no longer clear because it is dead. The function of the sclera and the cornea is for protection. So it functions to protect the eye itself, all the internal structures. The cornea also does help to bend light rays as they go into the eye. The next layer, which you can't see really good here, but you kind of see it, that darker layer here, that's known as the vascular tunic or the choroid. The choroid is a very colorful region of the eye. And what its function is, it takes in excess light rays so that when light moves into the eye, the rays that hit the fovea centralis, which is where we're going to get that perfect image at, are what we are going to make an image of. The rest of the light rays that are hitting are going to be absorbed by this choroid section. On the anterior region, the choroid actually is made up of a ciliary body and then the iris. The ciliary body, which you can just see that right there, and then you see the iris there. The ciliary body has two parts to it. Contains the ciliary muscle, which attaches to the lens itself, the ciliary muscle, and you can kind of see attachment right there, that little black structure right there. That would be part of the ciliary muscle. It'd be attaching on this side as well. The ciliary muscle controls the lens thickness. So it's going to either cause the lens to flatten out or contract and cause the lens to get more convex in shape. The ciliary process then is what produces aqueous humor. Aqueous humor is a fluid found in the anterior compartment of the eye, and it helps to nourish the cornea as well as the lens. The iris is the next portion of the eye. The iris is the colored portion, and so when you look at someone's eyes and you say, oh, they have blue eyes, or nice green eyes, or whatever it is, you're looking at their iris. The iris is a muscle. It's a smooth muscle, and it controls the pupil diameter. The pupil is just a hole. So it's not actually a structure, it's a hole. And that pupil is going to get larger that way or smaller depending on if the iris relaxes or contracts. And that's going to determine what happens or how much light comes in. So in really dark environments, the iris usually relaxes, and in light environments, really bright, it's going to contract and get smaller. All right, so now we're going to talk about the retina. Wow. Maybe. There we go. The retina is the third layer of the eye, and it functions in taking in light information. So it has rods and cones, which are your photoreceptors that take in information. It also has a pigmented layer where we have a component of vitamin A, retinol, that helps to absorb or take in information. The photoreceptors, rods and cones, then take in the light rays and they change them into electrical impulses that move to the occipital lobe of the brain, and then we can interpret the information as vision. So here you can see rods are those yellow structures and cones are the greenish looking structures. We have more rods than cones, but these are the photoreceptors that send signals to these bipolar neurons. The bipolar neurons then take the information and send them to ganglionic cells that form, they merge together to form the optic nerves. And we have a right and left optic nerve. In the very back of the eye, we have this region called the optic disc. Okay, the optic disc, and you can see it's a really bright structure right here, is where the optic nerve extends from. And in that area we have no rods and no cones. So it's also known as your blind spot. And you can actually use this figure. You can blow this image up and take it and just move it towards your eyes. And when if you're focusing on the little plus sign, when you no longer see that dot, that's where your blind spot would be located. The region here, known as the macula lutea, is the area where we have the majority of our cones. Not as many rods, very few rods, but mainly cones. And in the very middle is called the fovea centralis. This is where we have the best visual acuity. So that's where the perfect picture occurs. On the lateral regions of the eye, we have a lot more rods. So on the lateral sides, and the rods are used for more dark vision, but this area right here is where we're going to get the best vision. So one of your disorders associated with your eyes is detached retina, but I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Bye!